All right, guys, here we are, episode 6, KC Happy Hour. We've got our full crew back as Ryan Norberg has returned from the darkness of last week. He had an up and down weekend. We'll talk to
Yes.
him. Paulie is back. Braden is back with an updated whiteboard to match his most viral TikTok. Connor Zillish is here, our newest retired driver, and joining him as a fellow retired driver is Brandon. So we're all back here. We got a lot to digest from last week. Obviously, Ryan, Paulie, Braden on track. Braden, that's his last race for a good bit. Ryan ended up pretty good, but everybody's got a big break coming up. We've got almost 2 months till the next major pro race we have. Everyone's going to have probably some regional stuff and work and a few races to stay fresh in between. But we'll catch up with what everyone's schedules are because that's where we're going to all start splitting off a lot more. Also tonight, guys, later on, we do have a raffle. Kart Store USA is our newest partner here with KC Happy Hour. They have already completed their first ever raffle. You can buy tickets to it. That'll be done after our first commercial break, right around 8:25 Eastern time. So about 15 minutes, we'll have the full announcement there from Willie Ranella from Kart Store USA. First of all, going back through SKUSA Summer Nats, 251 total entries. We were kind of a little skeptical on the way in, but it ended up being really, really solid, I would say, entry-wise. We ended up good across the board. Where some classes were lighter, they kind of caught up. X30 Senior stayed about the same at the mid-35 mark to 40 mark where it's been all year, but KA picked up a little bit. Shifter obviously blew up with all the promotion they're doing. In fact, there's a lot of moving parts towards Shifter moving into 2022 as they continue to work on that class, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the numbers look like for Supernats. We talked about how Supernats initially didn't necessarily disclose a KZ purse, but they disclosed the Pro Shifter purse with the 175, and that was split. And then this weekend, with the first big turnout we saw with 43 total shifters, 13 master, 30 pro shifters, almost probably 90% of the field was on KZs. So do all those guys go to 175? If 175 is the only one with the purse, they are going to be split with the normal Supernats groups of one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So you could run both. That'll be interesting. Before we touch on the shifter stuff, let's touch on the stuff that we normally follow. And that's X30 Senior. Ryan, everybody got to see kind of your up and down weekend. But let's go a little bit deeper into it too. Obviously, Nate Cicero, who has been having a killer summer, almost as good as yours, really compared to where he's been. I would say it's an even bigger thing to be proud of. But, put 8 seconds on the field Saturday. And while, you didn't get to run, Steiner and Greenemeier, they were quick Saturday, but nobody was on Nate's pace. So as you guys went through the weekend, obviously you started setting the benchmark for all these guys going back at testing. Did they deviate a lot from setups? Were some guys on higher or lower grip based on, driver height or style, or was everyone still similar going into both mains?
Nate was a lot different on the Saturday. He was having a different feeling than pretty much everybody else on the tent. So they kind of deviated and found something pretty early, and that's what you saw kind of Friday throughout practice. Nate was, even though he wasn't always at the top of the charts, he was doing like comparable times to everybody else alone. While everybody else was doing like a 16-1 in a tow, he was doing it completely alone. And so you'd see him kind of bounce around the top three, but that's what I said when I interviewed with Rob. I was like, Nate's the guy to beat. He's the fastest guy this week. And yeah, it showed on Saturday, because once he got out there, he was just pacing at like 16.4, 16.5, which is, that's hard. That is really quick to do alone every single lap. And so, yeah, 8 seconds is crazy and never really seen at Newcastle.
Yeah, that's huge. And even then, like Sunday, there was a lot of shuffling for second. And Paulie and Braden, you guys have a lot more on that, so you get a lot better view of how you got. Because even when you got out to your gap, you weren't necessarily any bit quicker than the field. In fact, for a little bit, they'd kind of make some headway. Then you'd rip back down to a 16.8. It'd pull back, but it stayed at like a 2-second margin compared to where Nate got away. On Saturday, though, him getting away that far, it brings up, everyone starts eyeballing whenever you get whooped that bad. But Braden, you even said it yourself earlier on the weekend. Like, you've had good races at Newcastle where you found like 4 to 5 tenths. You watched his go-kart. What do you see as well from where you were at Saturday and what he was at?
Yeah, to me it looked like it looked like they did a really good job on that engine. And when you get a little bit of an advantage with horsepower, you can add even more grip to the go-kart and still get off the corner. So for me, that's what it looked like. His kart was on rails. Looked a bit, like too good to be like free. So it looked really like it had a lot of grip and a lot of power to me.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it even for him, that cart was glued. He could put it about wherever he wanted it. But then Sunday, unfortunately, he got knocked out, and it was almost like a flip each day, right? Biggs had a decent day. I think Saturday wasn't great coming through, and then obviously Sunday was rougher. But Ryan, you had terrible Saturday, good Sunday. Nate has good Saturday, terrible Sunday. RPG ended up good. RPM was like decent and almost the same. Paulie, you were the only one that was still top three both days, most of the sessions. Your guys, Trey had up and down days, more down than up, and then Jake had a good run Saturday and then was shuffled back, and then won Sunday's pre-final. Got shuffled back there too with the starts. I think the biggest thing that was interesting, I want to hear your guys' take on it too. Turn one, I don't think there was a single wreck this weekend except for one time in a micro race. You go back to last year, we ran this layout. We had the big wreck at the start of the Sunday main where like half the field got chunked. What was so different? Is there anything different that we felt like going down with the way the starts were this year, Paulie?
I just feel like maybe people are a little bit smarter. It's like they just use their heads more and relax and try to get to the first corner. All I really got.
What? Well, I mean, I want to talk about what Braden said because honestly, like, there's a lot to do with the setup, and Nate nailed the setup. He was faster than everybody else under our team, and we all have the same engines. Like, granted, we have power. Like, there's no doubt that we have like good horsepower, but like, he had the setup, which like complements the power so much more. Because like, I was not as fast as him, same power. Hannah was not as fast as him, same power. Biggs was not as fast as him, same power. If you drive well, you get the setup correct, you're gonna like. I mean, 8 seconds. It kind of went down to like Paulie didn't have the speed to match up with him and like stay in the tow, and then everybody else was around like a tenth off alone. So like he got out to the lead, and then Paulie really didn't have the speed to match him, and that's where the gap. I think 8 seconds is a lot more exaggerated than if somebody else would have been a little like quicker in the second spot. But yeah, I mean, it goes down to the setup of the go-kart a lot more than just raw power. I mean, it's if you get it right. I mean, Nate was on a different setup than all of the RPG guys, and he was like, I mean, it showed he was way faster than all of us. He was driving really well. I mean, that's where a lot of the speed comes from our tent.
Did he start on that different setup midway through Friday, or was that midway through Saturday he started really going in a different direction than where you guys were at?
He just had a different feeling of like the racetrack. We were all kind of like a lot more. We were more unstable in the brakes, and he was more unstable center off, and so then he was adjusting to that more and focusing more off corner, where we were all kind of focusing on in the corner. And yeah, I mean, it showed. He rips off the corner, and so that paired with his driving style. I mean, I was always over driving compared to him. I could never like drive as slow as he was into the corner and still be fast off. He would like really late apex the go kart and really set up like he's about a half cart length wider than I was every single time, and I couldn't like figure out how to get my cart to get through it like he was. And that's why it was like he looks like he has like 2 more horsepower than everybody. I mean, he's like so much earlier on the throttle. He's got the cart position better, and it's like that's where all the speed was. And like when you looked at the data, I'd come in and be like, dude, I can't do a better time. And I look at it, I'm like, I'm just over driving. Like I'm literally just every corner just over driving. And I felt like I was backing it up. And so I backed it up more and more and more. And it was like he had a feel. He had a feel for the track. He had a feel for everything. And I think he was the guy to beat. I mean, he kind of pulled everybody around both qualifyings and still was top 3 like every single time without a draft. I mean, yeah, he was on like another level. It was one of those days where you have good power, you have a good chassis, and then you drive really well. I mean, in 8 seconds is a lot, but it's not unbelievable.
No, and it can happen, right? I mean, even then, Carson Morgan put a good bit on everybody at Road America, even Road America for a bit, right? Like there was how quick Brandon was there last year. If Brandon starts on pole and he's not a couple tenths quicker, that could have easily been a 6-second gap. Instead, Brandon got shuffled way back, came in later, drove down 4 seconds, then got ahead by like 2 until him and Lemke got into it. And Brandon, we'll toss it over to you. You were obviously working with Jake Walker and Jr. this weekend. what you saw as a tuner side watching onto the racetrack and then keeping an eye on it. We talked GoPro 2 weeks ago. Most grip we had ever seen at that racetrack. Here at Newcastle, was it as grippy as it looked like it was last year? Was it less? Was it more? Where were you at with the juniors?
I mean, with the juniors, we were definitely on basically a completely different setup than what all our juniors ran at the GoPro race. I don't feel like Newcastle had as much rubber as GoPro did. I mean, obviously, I don't quite know because I wasn't out there. But from the tuning side, even with like working with Thomas and Senior in KA and X30, he was pretty quick all of Sunday, and we were on like totally opposite setups that we were at GoPro. So I definitely don't think the rubber got laid down quite as much at Newcastle. Kind of similar to what we've seen in the past couple of years since the tire compound changed a little bit. And I also think I think the Invinco tire is also a little bit different than the MG Yellow. I don't think the Invinco lays down quite the same amount of rubber that the MG Yellow does anymore. I don't know if anyone else has the same feeling, but
Ryan, Braden, you guys went
Yeah,
back and forth.
I
As
mean,
far
for
as I know, they're
me-
the same tire.
Well,
I've
I'm
never
not
really,
talking about.
I've never really.
addressed that because I think it's the same tire. But yeah, no, the track had absolutely no grip the entire weekend. Last year it was a bit better because it was like non-stop, and we had USPKS 2 weeks before at Newcastle, and then we had 2 like 5-day events at Newcastle. So it was definitely a bit more gripped up last year, and the track is just getting worse and worse every year. That surface is starting to lose a lot of the grip that it used to have. Used to be even we could run like 45, 50 degrees. When it was like 45, 50 degrees outside, we could run like lap record time. Unless it's like 85, 90 degrees, we're not laying on any rubber anymore at all. So yeah, it was definitely a really slick surface this year.
Ollie, what do you think? Having run that track for a couple of years as well, and then we'll toss it to Ryan. I mean, did you see same thing? Like you had to make some changes Saturday into Sunday. Were you dialing grip in even into Sunday, or were you dialing stuff out?
I definitely don't think there was as much grip as last year, for sure. I think it was a lot hotter last year. There were more people, and then we went back-to-back weekends, so it was just like the track never really got a break. But no, we totally blew the setup on Saturday, and my motor wasn't running worth anything at all. It's like I didn't have that
Another
2 extra
drop at the bottom?
horsepower, but no, that thing was not pulling off the bottom again. So no, we totally went different setup on Sunday, different motor on Sunday, which was a little bit better. But Ryan kind of gave me his scrap piece that he had left, which is all right, but it was a little bit better, and we made it work. So I definitely think there wasn't as much grip though.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a given, right? Just like Braden said, we ran, we ran we ran the backwards track second weekend. This was still first weekend, but I feel like the test weekend last year had a whole lot more. I mean, Ryan, you were at the test weekend. There were 72, I think, total on that. I have to remember last year. I got to think it was probably like $120 to $140, like a good bit more on the test weekend before. Or do you remember?
Yeah, for sure. Last year I had more drivers testing. I mean, we were the only team this year testing. And I think last year you probably had more drivers on the yellow tire versus this year where it was kind of the other way around. I think there's more tires, more reds out there than there or the blues versus the reds.
Yeah.
And so I think that probably played into it a little bit. But I mean, the times were similar to last year. I think they're a few tenths off, but you'd think with the new package they'd be a bit faster, like we've been everywhere else. For sure, the track didn't have the same amount of rubber. I mean, last year it was pretty easy, flat out through the big bowl, and it was like this year there'd be some sessions where you're like almost lifting in that corner because it's just you just wash up the racetrack like out of nowhere. So I think it definitely wasn't as grippy, and I think like Braden said, I think the track itself is just kind of wearing out at this point, and you can see the cracks are getting bigger and more noticeable. It's rougher to drive, and it's definitely not that grippy anymore.
One thing I was curious
Okay.
about, because I wasn't driving, obviously. Did you guys still feel the arrow push to the bowl?
Yes,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to imagine that was probably even a little bit worse this year with less rubber down, right? Does it seem like that, you're already struggling for grip halfway through? It's one thing to get arrow push when it's a super easy flat out, but if you're saying you're on the limit a little bit more, it's probably tougher to run behind.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it was much tighter in the slow corners, like at I-70, the hairpin before that, and then like obviously like the bowl, and every time you get behind somebody, you just wash out from behind them. I think that's why you saw everybody have like, if you were following, you'd be so much more narrow into the corner. Because normally, I mean, when you follow, you're a little later on the apex, but like this time it was like everybody was, if you were behind somebody, you were probably half cart length earlier than they were entering the corner.
Really? Well, Connor, other than that, what did you see from watching the races on the side? This is the first senior race all year you've been on the sidelines for. So having run against everybody all year long, obviously you got to see some stuff when you're running junior. Did you pick up on anything? Was there anything that you kind of like noticed having, not like a bird's eye view of watching both races?
Yeah, I definitely saw how dominant RPG was this weekend. I mean, in almost every single session, they were almost 3 or 4 tenths clear of the whole field. So, I mean, they must have done something right in the test weekend or got something going for them, but they were way faster than everyone. And it definitely showed on Saturday with Cicero pulling away half-second faster than the field almost every lap. I mean, there were laps where he was 7 to 8 tenths faster than Paulie even. And they must have just found something that worked for them.
Well, I mean, like you said, Ryan, you guys were on the test weekend. You go in before where everyone was spending Thursday to kind of get their stuff sorted and caught up. You already seem like, do you guys come into that with a much clearer game plan on Thursday, having the weekend before, like in terms of what motors to run and when to do? Everyone kind of knows when they do tires, but like setups to start.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. We get an idea on the setup, but honestly, like RPM came out a lot faster than everybody. I think when it was practice time, other than Nate, like it was Jake Drew was pretty quick and Paulie was quick. I mean, your guys were pretty fast, and I think we kind of went a bit different with our setup, and we all kind of started going a complete opposite direction. And that's when we kind of found more speed. And I mean, a lot of it goes down to the chassis, and when you figure out where the cart works, I mean, you can run like a lower gear than everybody. You can run that little bit less, and then you have more speed. And so I think you saw in practice, like other than Nate, I wasn't that fast, Hannah wasn't that fast, Biggs wasn't that fast, and we were kind of like around the top 5, top 6, and then it was like we kind of figured out the setup again and started going faster again.
Fair enough. Well, we'll talk a little bit more and a little bit off depth from the X30 senior class because there was a whole lot of other action going on over the weekend. Still got to touch a little bit on the Cup Courts North America entry, and for all those of you tuning in who bought tickets to the Kart Store USA raffle, that'll come right after the break when we come back here. Casey Happy Hour rolls on, episode 6 here Monday, August 16th. Stick with us, guys.
KC Happy Hour is presented by Precision Performance Karting. PPK is the exclusive South Florida dealer for Coyote Motorsports kart racing chassis and Coyote's newest distributor. However, owner John Seglem and Coyote Motorsports' relationship spans across numerous decades in the sport, meaning that you've got years of winning expertise at your service. PPK offers trackside support at all of the CKNA South Division events, impressive driver roster at these events, racking up multiple wins and podiums in 2021 with longtime Coyote Motorsports driver Chris Carroll and KC Happy Hour's own Paulie Massimino and Brandon Jarsacrack. If you're looking to get on the same race-winning equipment as these drivers, from the Coyote Motorsports chassis to the Odenthal motor mounts and Greyhound racing seats, Precision Performance Karting has you covered. Check out Precision Performance Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or email them at ppkartingfl@gmail.com.
So our program at RPG is primarily based around driver development. We like to be able to get the families and kids early in the year and build them a specific program based around driver training. We use these national races like the SKUSA Pro Tour, the USPKS, as their proving grounds. We work, we train, we run regional races, we train at our local track, we train at the customer's local track. From 10 to 20 years old, we can teach them what we believe are the good habits and get rid of their bad habits, and we can do that over time. This has been the most successful way that we've found that works really well for our program, and we plan to keep continuing that way.
If you're ready to take your racing career to the next level, check out rollisonpg.com for more information. That's www.rollisonpg.com.
Welcome to Ohio Kart Parts, the Midwest's largest Burrell Art racing go-kart dealer. We carry Burrell Art, Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, and Robert Kubica branded go-karts, as well as parts from names you trust. Chassis components from Freeline, engines from IAMI, Briggs & Stratton, and soon-to-be Tillotson, electronics from AIM Technologies, MG Tires, Taika Axles, seating from Tillett, Arai Helmets, and 3/10 Race Products. Visit us online at www.ohiokartparts.com, at our facility in Lorain, Ohio, or at the local track on race weekends. If we don't have it, call us at 440-628-CART. That's 5278, and we will do what we can to help you out.
All right, guys, welcome back here. We are back from commercial. We are going to send it over to our newest partner here with KC Happy Hour, Willie Ranella, who has the winner from his Kart Store USA raffle, or at least he'll go down and pick out the winner. So when we come back here, it'll just be a moment. But let's send it over to our buddy Willie as the show rolls on.
Thank you, Sander, and thank you to the whole Kart Chaser team for partnering up with us for our first raffle. My name is Willie, and I'm one of the owners of Kart Store USA. First, I want to just say thank you to everyone that participated on our first raffle. Your support really means a lot to us. To the people that don't know who we are an online store that specializes in Tony Kart, Vortex, IME, Kart Republic, and Rep Performance. We are growing, so please follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well as TikTok. Now let's go ahead and get started with our raffle. Hopefully we have many more. First prize is going to be the OTK MXC wheels. Second prize is going to be $75, and third place is going to be $55. All right, for $55, the lucky winner is number 15, which is Anthony Villex. For our second place winner, it's going to be number 17, Anthony Velez. And for our first place winner is going to be number 14. Oh, sorry. Number 14, Casey Barnes. Thank you to everyone. Now, please go ahead and message me your address to ship out the wheels, and also how you guys want to receive your payment. And also, please don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok, and also Instagram for our next raffle. Back to you, Sander.
Thanks again, Willie, again, our newest partner. So to go things up a little bit, did everybody get to see the X30 Junior main event finish on Saturday coming to the line? So Kai Sorensen, Carson Borden, they ended up there close again. And
I was standing on the hill for that. It was interesting.
All right, so Connor, you were on the hill. Was there a massive reaction from the crowd? I was kind of halfway around the fence. Were guys going crazy or just shut up as soon as they came across the line?
I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of shock where people saw it and didn't really know how to react to it. As soon as it happened, I knew SKUSA was going to give Kai a penalty, because I mean, Kai's been racing in Europe, and in Europe that would fly, but in America the officials don't like that. So I kind of felt bad for him, because he's used to that kind of racing, so he did what he would normally do. And I mean, yes, it's kind of unfair because he did take Carson basically out of the contention for the win, but I think the penalty was deserved, and overall, it was Carson destroyed everyone this weekend. He won 4 for 4, and now he's won 11 in a row, so he's on a roll.
Yep, and he's going to be joining everybody. He's officially going up to senior when he races again in Vegas. I don't think he's going to come and join us at USPKS. They're on the fence right now for that because they're not in the points since they didn't run the first 2 rounds. But he's moving up to senior early. Jeremy Fletcher is going to be senior bound in 2022. Moving over to Shifter, there's not much more to say besides AJ still continuing to dominate. He had the issue on Saturday. I don't know who else was able to watch Andrew coming through, but watching him, it almost looked like he was doing the same thing that I haven't seen him do in a while. He'd rip a lap 3/10 quicker, 2 laps in a row, would make one mistake, would go back, and then finally seemed to dial it up when the 2 to go signal came.
That sounds like Andrew.
I don't know how. The guy somehow turned it up late there at the end, and then what he said was, so he got into the scoreboard corner, went down one too many shifts, popped it into first for a second, so that's how he got crossed out.
I think we're all thinking the same thing right now.
And just Andrew being Andrew sending it. I mean, Brandon, I'm sure you watched Shifter, did you not?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch because they split the group, so I was watching Master Shifter when I was sitting on the grid. But
okay.
I heard the race on Saturday coming to the line 3 wide was pretty exciting. I didn't get to watch it though.
Yeah, they just went
yeah,
straight,
so-
and Jake
Oh,
almost ended
man,
up in the wall. Yeah, I mean,
He did hit the wall.
well, yeah,
actually.
he
ended up
nudged
into the
it. He
wall.
nudged it.
Yeah, so for everyone that didn't get to see the racing on, it actually made it into the SKUSA clip, so you can go back and watch their Saturday edit. You can see French sliding right by the camera, and he goes all the way into the fence. Then I walked by over there and let him know that he won, and the guy started cheering because he had no idea. It was 15 thousandths of a second when they came across the loop. Most of you guys, I think, except for maybe Connor, have run it where the loop was back in the original spot coming out of turn number 1 this way, where we have at least the 90 to go through. And you don't have the gate, like the leader's not so much of a sitting duck. You can kind of defend. Going around the room, do you prefer it with the original loop, or do we like the newer start-finish line at the end of the straightaway, Braden?
I used to like it a lot better before, but also back then the track was a lot better in general because the surface was much better. I used to like that because I never, like, almost never saw any dirty racing in the last corner, but there was such a skill to like how you blocked and how you took it and how you, if you were in second, could over under to get the lead or the win. So I used to like it before. I thought it was a lot more skill based, whereas now it just seems like just drag race. Whoever's got the best engine wins the race at the end of the day. So, or if it's like a race like that, whoever's got the gear for the end of the straightaway is gonna win. So yeah, no, I liked it better before.
Brandon?
I definitely think, like back when they had the start finish line between the 2 corners, it was. I mean, sometimes you saw a lot of carnage coming through the last corner because you're going in there full speed and then you're bumping off the track. But like Braden said, you didn't really see that often. It was more definitely skill based. I mean, you saw some really cool moves of people just absolutely hanging around the outside and actually making it work and winning the race. And basically what he said, the guy who coming out of the last corner, whoever has the lowest gear is most likely going to win the race to the line if it's a drag race. And it's really hard to defend to win when you're leading coming down to the line like that. But I don't know, either way is okay, but it definitely makes for exciting finishes both ways.
Connor?
Yeah, I definitely think that I've never ran the track with in between turn 1 and 2, but I definitely think they need to move the start finish line back some because it's just you can't. I mean, if you're up front, you kind of feel the need to drop teeth because if you're in the race for the win at the line, then whoever has the lowest gear is going to win, or whoever has the better motor is going to win. So it kind of ruins the race a little bit. So I definitely think they either need to go in between 1 and 2 again, or move the start finish line back some.
Ollie?
I definitely liked it when it was after turn 1. Gave the guy behind or even the guy in front more of a shot to try and make something happen instead of just whoever is geared lower or whoever has the better motor. So yeah, I'd probably want to see it back after turn 1.
And then Ryan, you ran both ways, same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it between 1 and 2. That was, I think, honestly creates better racing. Right now, it's just kind of the Talladega vibe that you get, and micro racing is kind of crazy. The mini racing it's almost better to be second coming to the line. So it's difficult for those guys, and obviously for the shifter, I mean, they're braking before the start finish line. So I think you saw like on Kyle Wick on Saturday, he ended up getting pole because he barrier shot it. After the line, and so he got it by like a 10th, but like they're braking before the corner, so it's like if you don't want to like wad your cart up, you might not get pole. So it's they've either got to move it back like Connor said, or push it forward and into 1 and 2, and just I think 1 and 2 is better because it just creates better racing. It was always cool to see the if somebody could over under it, or you had to be a little bit smarter in how you defended to, not lose so much time on the exit and still be able to hold it off to the end.
Yeah, I think it definitely added a little more. The leader at least had a chance, right? You come down the front stretch, and I mean, that's why Kai did what he did. He, swerved Carson Morgan coming all the way across, and then made sure he had to put him in the grass, because if he didn't, both of those guys have good motors, are smart drivers, and how to get the drive off of I-70. And Carson was close enough; he would have easily got it. He was already halfway up at the beginning of the King. If they move it halfway down, it might be all right, almost like a Le Mans start finish line, where it's further back on the straightaway, like you said, and then it would take out the braking stuff. But your teammate, Austin Garrison, ended up losing a photo finish by video review versus the timing loop, which went through it. SKUSA had started that, I think, going all the way back to Brandon Lemke versus, I think it was Malukas. Braden, you might remember this one as well. I don't know if it was Malukas or Holden, but I know it was Lemke against one of those two guys when they were on Top Kart 2014 or 2015. First year of CBS Sports. And at that time, under the different race director, they overturned it on video. Since then, because that was easily
They
caught.
overturned it months and months later, actually.
Yeah, months later. You're right. I completely forget. Yeah, it took them a while. It wasn't until the CBS TV special came out. Rob called it on the TV special that Lemke won, but the loop was wrong. And then when everybody saw that, there was enough pushback, and it completely reversed the results. And that's what got it now. So in KA Senior, Austin Garrison, huge run, final lap. He's a short guy, so his seat's further forward. And Annunziata, maybe just setup-wise, had it further back, and that's why they mount the transponders, and he lost by 100th, and then gets it overturned off the video. In fact, we got the blurred shot even about 5 feet before the line. He was still nosing ahead. Garrison, he had him. I don't think Garrison.
Yeah, it's
after. But
it's
going around
frustrating though, because like when you're talking about 5,000ths of a second, I mean, it goes down to like the frame rate of the camera. Like honestly, like you could have like the just one frame and it's gonna show somebody's ahead of the other person. I didn't get to see the picture, so I don't know how far ahead it looked like he was. But it's definitely like, I don't know, they've either got to have like a standard like transponder mounting position for just this race, like on the side part somewhere where it's like definite, because yeah, we don't have the technology, I don't think, to measure like 5,000ths of a second. Like we're not at that level of like video for the end of a race. Like it's going to be blurry. It's going to be like very spotty to the line. And honestly, at that point, it depends on the camera angle, how you've even got it mounted so that you can see who wins the race.
You'd rather it go off the loop, at least at this point, with the camera system that they have and GoPros that we have. You'd rather it go off the loop for now?
I would, honestly, just because for sure his transponder came across the line first. That's the only thing you can go off of. I didn't see the video, so I don't know if it's obvious or not. But again, 5,000ths of a second is like, I mean, we're talking about like centimeters, maybe millimeters, like in between. That's almost like you can't see that. So who's to say, what's correct? I think they just need to have a standard mount, like on the side pod or on the like nose, something up front, to where this is the same on every cart, and when it comes across the line, that's what you'll get.
That's an interesting solution in the middle there. Brandon, what do you think? Annunziata ran under your tent, ended up being the benefactor of it. In fact, you kind of got to hear a little bit, because they had to go to the race stewards to get it overturned, because they thought they had a good shot off the video they saw. With the video that shot there, do you think that's enough, or you'd rather have video review overturn timing loop calls nowadays?
So what happened was, I was actually the person who kind of called it. Thomas showed me the video from the guy who finished P3. And if you stop the video like right where the start finish line is, Thomas's rear bumper was ahead of Austin's rear bumper. So I was like, Thomas, your front bumper has to be ahead of his front bumper, so that means you had to have won the race. Now, I don't know, like with the whole transponder placement stuff, like that's how we normally go off everything, but we went to the SKUSA race directors and they had one of their video marshaling things pointed directly at the start finish line. So they looked at the video, stopped it right at the start finish line, and I guess Thomas's front bumper was ahead of Austin's, and they wound up reversing it.
There was a picture somewhere I saw of them drag racing to the line. I don't know who took the picture, but it definitely showed Thomas was like like this far in front of Garrison. I don't know. I don't know who took the picture, but it was like Garrison was kind of blurred out and Thomas was in the background.
Yeah, that was Sean. Our guy.
Sean?
Yeah, I saw that one from Sean too.
Yeah.
Sean went down to the loop to right there. Now, the other tough part too is like unlike GoPro that at least has like a defined start finish line, like painted. Newcastle has the black strips on there, and then they go off which one of the rhino seals, right? So it's harder to depict on video. At least if you have like a very nice checkerboard line, it's a lot easier to go off that stuff. But they don't. So then it's off which rhino seal that they go off of. Where's the loop at? Even most tracks, the loops themselves, it's the timing loop is a double wire. So they have to where it catches, you could either put it at the end of where you put your paint or at the beginning. Never really get to hit it right in the center because you have to put them so far apart. It's literally 2 blocks apart. Like if you go to GoPro, you can look. There's rhino seal or sealer, not rhino seal, but sealer over top, right at the beginning of where the checkerboard starts, and right at the end on the opposite side as well. So depending on which way they run the cords, they either flip it back or forth. You either get the beginning of the loop or the end of it. And most of the time in pro racing, it seems like it's always first nose to the line, not to the halfway mark and not to the end. We did have another couple questions come in. One was talking about adjustments we made over the weekend. So you guys, Ryan especially, you guys were on a lot of different setups. Braden, I know you make a lot with the Kart Republic and with Power Karts. You guys changed a lot on ride height. How much thrashing were you guys doing and overall changes? Because he was one of our newer viewers was asking changes beyond tire pressures and track width. You guys had to make a good bit. And I have to imagine with the OTKs and what Ryan's saying, if you guys be on a different one, the whole board was kind of up to play for. Right, Braden?
Are you talking to me first?
Yeah, you first. What all did you change throughout the course of the weekend? Like different stuff.
Yeah, so we did a good bit in practice, but like any good chassis, you kind of go more and more standard as the weekend goes. So we ended up, a little bit different, but more or less the exact same as how we end pretty much every weekend on the willpower cart. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. Running same sprocket that we run since like 2015, same tire pressure we run since 2015. So it's same thing every year, really.
End up to it. And then Ryan, where were you guys at? Was the bigger difference you were making? I mean, did you guys go all the way? Like everything was open, axles were open, different spindles, caster, everything. Were you guys all kind of on a different range?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't say everything, but Nate's setup to mine was considerably different. Mine to Hannah's was considerably different. Biggs's to everybody's was considerably different. A lot of Newcastle is just how much speed you can carry. So if you have a little bit more aggressive hands or a little bit more aggressive on the brakes or something, that definitely changes how you're gonna feel the go-kart through a lot of the high-speed corners. So yeah, you kind of play to just if you're comfortable getting into the corner and you're comfortable with the setup, that's good. If you can carry that gear, perfect, and go with it. But for sure, I mean, I tried to do Nate's setup, didn't like it. I tried to do Hannah's setup, didn't like it, and just went back to kind of like what Braden said, what we know works. Every race we always do that where we go away and we're like, oh, this is what's gonna do it, and then we just go back to what we normally run, and that's fast. So yeah. Pretty standard, pretty simple, same setup as last year.
And to you, Paulie, were you on a different setup than last year, or did you kind of go a little bit out of the way and then end up back on something pretty similar to what you were on by Sunday?
We tried something on Thursday that seemed like it was working in the beginning, and then slowly it started to fade away. So we kind of worked away from what we were doing in the beginning, and Saturday we tried something I've never even been on before, and obviously it didn't work, but they kept going at it and figuring out the cart, what it needs, what I need, and then ultimately I told them what I needed on Thursday, and that's what we ended on Sunday.
Let's see. Moving on to the last couple stuff we're gonna touch on about the overall Pro Tour, the way the championships run. We still have one drop in each championship for SKUSA Pro Tour 5 out of 6. That's what ended up being a whole lot different. Now, at this point, if you go back to the championship, the top 15, top 20 guys that run all three, you run all the way through, do we like having the drops in the championship? It brought you back in, Ryan, after having one back round, or would you rather have it be a little more consistent? Because that at this race was so close enough. If you take the drops out, I think Biggs might have still ended up okay had he not spun in the scoreboard. Or do you like having 5 out of 6?
I think 5 out of 6 is how we've always done it, and that's, the way to do it. Unless you have like a NASCAR, Formula One style, or IndyCar where you've got like 20-something plus races, I think you kind of always have to have a drop. There's not enough time to make up for a bad weekend. Like if you have one, like Connor, he had one DQ, and it was basically there's no real sense to run the last round because you wouldn't be able to make that up on just an all out. Unfortunately, his DQ was not droppable, but let's say he had a 0 weekend. I mean, you wouldn't be able to make that up at all. So I like the drop. If you're going to do 6 races, I like the drop. Going to USPKS where it's like a little bit longer, we have 8 races. I think that's more doable, and having an all out is okay. But even then, it's still very hard to make up a DNF for anything. It's almost impossible.
And Brandon, you've been running just as long, if not longer. You've run championships with drops, without drops. Do you like drops? Do you like not having them? Or would you change anything different with how the points were ran this year?
I like having, like, if we do a 6-round series, just have 1 drop. Some series that I've run in the past, they did like a 6 or 8-round series that had 2 drops. So then it almost like if someone didn't want to go to one of the race weekends, they just decided not to go because they could drop the entire 2-day race weekend. That was too much, where I think the 1 drop's okay in case you have like a 1 bad day or you have a mechanical failure for some reason, then that's okay. But I definitely think you need 1, but running with no drops is definitely PKS for the longest time. And it came out in my favor a bunch of times because we were lucky enough to not have any bad DNFs or anything, but it was definitely more difficult running with no drops.
Fair enough. Let's switch gears one more time, everyone. We are actually right at the end of the break here for segment number 2. When we come back, we'll take any more questions you guys have right over the break and look towards the end of this year because we've got a big gap and a few events to preview and what we'd like to see, hopefully, out of those events moving forward. Again, KC Happy Hour, guys, moving on and rolling on. We'll be right back after this.
I'm Billy Vincent, owner of MPG Motorsports. What we do at MPG is we try to keep it a nice, fun family atmosphere, try to combine sort of the bigger things and of the bigger teams and the professionalism down with sort of some of the fun sort of family-oriented atmosphere. We try to not only develop drivers, but also the parents and the families for just in knowledge in general in motorsports. It all starts in karting. What we try to do is try to help the drivers, the moms, the dads understand the sport of motorsports in general, not just karting, but what it takes to get all the way up through. Whether you end up wanting to be a driver or a mechanic or an engineer, we can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. If you're interested in joining us at MPG, our home base is at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis, and you can contact us at info@willpowerkart.com. And one of our great people will reach out to you, and we'll try to put the best program together.
I'm Alex Speed, the team principal here at Speed Concepts Racing. We have an elite karting program. We really focus on giving the drivers the tools they have to take to the next level. We don't really want to, it's important to win racing and go-karting, but really give the kids the tools they need to hopefully become professional racing drivers. We're on the OTK Red Speed Kart. We have our own in-house motor program with Speed Lab. We do really competitive in the national races, but again, our main focus is really giving the kids, the tools they have, looking at data, looking at video to really give them arsenal to go on to car racing and hopefully be successful.
Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/speedconceptsracing or email us at speedconceptsracing@gmail.com.
All right, so as we continue to let you guys put in the last few viewer Q&As, let's talk first about the officiating, which is they were throwing quite a bit of different of penalties this weekend. We talked back at USPKS Road America on the show. We reviewed 2 and 4 position is the highest they normally go, and that ended up being a little bit light. This weekend, pretty harsh. Braden, you got a 5-second cut course penalty at one point. Connor, we'll talk to you. You had some stuff going on with your micro drivers, everybody else around. So, Connor, let's start with you because you were kind of completely out of the circle we were in this week. What was your experience with the officials, the rules, how things went? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And how did it affect your guys?
And all year, SKUSA has been a little bit, not a little bit. They've been really sloppy with their penalties and decision making and calling. And this weekend, it really showed. One of my micro drivers got a penalty for getting taken out. So I went to the steward's office, and you can't even talk to the stewards in person anymore. They only let you text them, which is kind of takes away a lot of like the face to face is where stewarding should be. And I went and I waited there for 30 minutes. Walked in the trailer. The guy said, "Here, scan this code and text the guy." And it took him a while to respond. And the micros, I was watching Shifter when I went over there. And by the time I actually got a response from the guy, it was like right before the micro final. And I had a situation where my micro driver got a penalty for getting taken out. And I texted him and sent him the video. And he said, "Yeah, we messed that up. That was supposed to be a penalty for the other kid." So they changed it from a 5-second penalty for my kid to a 5-second penalty for the other kid. And it just, if I didn't catch that, then it would have gone like that. And it's kind of sloppy that they make that easy of a mistake.
Brayden, yours wasn't nearly as much as a mistake as it was just a different judgment call. 5 seconds, threw you back pretty far. Walk us through the situation you got and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was pretty much pretty close to getting a penalty for getting taken out as well. I mean, we were going into the ski jump, and it's Thomas Annunziata, and I go like middle of the track to block. Thomas goes all the way down and basically puts his front bumper, on my rear bumper, like while I'm turning in. So at this point, I'm like, and obviously I'm going very, very deep on the brakes to try and out race him, and it's only a couple laps to go. He hits me. I go full sideways over the ski jump and like gather it back up, like right in front of the grass. Just have to like completely cut the course. And mind you, he's not even close to making this move when he tries it. He literally just hits me. I go off and go through the grass, come on, and I was in front of him before the corner. I came back on in front of him. He came on and started hitting me as soon as we got into the corner. And then I come off. They give me a 5-second penalty, the same penalty that Kai Sorensen got for intentionally wrecking on the last straightaway. It's completely unacceptable. The penalty calls this weekend were wrong 90% of the time.
Brian, what was your experience? Because you had you didn't really get any ones thrown on you, did you? But you definitely were on the short end of the stick Saturday.
No, I just don't really. I'm not a huge fan of the new race directors. Last year they came aboard, and I thought a lot of the penalties during the whole Pro Tour last year were kind of a joke. There's times where I'd get driven off the racetrack and wouldn't get a penalty, and then other times where I'd come on the, like somebody would be kind of on the outside and I'd be the last guy through, and then they'd run wide and I'd get a 5-position penalty for knocking them off the racetrack after they're getting freight trained, and so it doesn't really compute. And then as well, they talk about blocking, and they're like, you're not allowed to run into somebody on the straightaway. And last year I was getting driven into the grass on the straightaway, and I talked to the race director about it, and he's like, oh, that's the move he was making, so he's allowed to do that, even though they specifically said in the driver's meeting that you cannot do that. And then at the beginning of the year, I got a 10-second penalty for doing an extra pace lap. And then Nolan Allison got a 10-second penalty because he didn't give the guy on the outside enough space to position coming out of the last corner before the green flag. 10 seconds. And then this whole weekend, they've just completely forgot about that idea. That's not, we didn't do that at all this week, and nobody got a penalty, even though I got a penalty at the beginning of the year for it. They also told me that my starts were too slow, and I'll get a 10-second penalty if I start too slow. They also told me if I don't start in the box, I'll get a 10-second penalty.